What are you doing, Tynos? Being a bad cat. That's good stuff. So now that we've got Joe Dark Age Joe in office, I think we'll see a resurgence in witch burnings. I guess we already have. So this morning I have a few thoughts. Nothing much, nothing too much. As you can see, just got out of bed, brewed a cup of coffee, and picked up the camera. Because that's how I am lately. I'm just completely, it's kind of freeing, it's kind of liberating to be like completely unscripted. Because I've spent half of my life now, is this what you call like a midlife crisis? Midlife meltdown of some kind. So I've spent half of my life now just being a complete perfectionist, control freak. And I mean, not when it comes to others. It's more like when it comes to my creative work, everything's always got to be perfect, It's never good enough, Needs more work, So yeah, I used to paint. Pictures, be a picture painter. And, general old school traditional artist to drawing, painting. And, for a while there, man, when I was, when you're young and dumb, the rest, and you strive, you want the best, right? You want to be the best of the best. So I would literally drive myself crazy trying to make my drawings or paintings or whatever it was I was working on insanely detailed. And then I went from kind of more of a realism to Van Gogh was very liberating because he was so harsh. He was so, man, what did he call himself? He even called himself like a brute or a savage, or I can't remember exactly how he said it, about his own work, because he's rough, man, and but he developed his own, you can tell Van Gogh when you see one. And that's exciting to me, to be able to create something visually still to this day that, nobody's ever seen before. I mean, that's a fun thought as a creative person, or heard before, Anyway, fast forward to the present, I guess. Now I'm just like, hey, I'm just gonna be me. And see what happens. I don't know. Anyway, so this latest push for collectivism, global, right? We're all global citizens. To be for your own nation, which is the only way in which you have any say, any power at all to affect change, to affect policy in that nation in which you reside. You need a nation, you need sovereignty, you need your own country. But that's been equated with, especially since Trump now, the media, twisting the narrative, nationalism, has been associated with whiteness. So white nationalists are the biggest threat, right? After all summer, I don't know, I saw somebody put it together, a statistic of all the people shot, 100 and, what was it? It was over 100, 120, 140 buildings burned, small businesses. It was insane for months. And you saw the Capitol Hill thing, lasted a couple hours. No buildings were burned, no police attacked, no police shot. One person shot. Whatever happened to the other, I'm gonna have to look that up. Like, they claim 5, but you notice how the media never says what happened to the other 4? It's kind of shady. Always when there's a inside repair job, we'll just call it, there's always a few people that end up missing afterwards because they knew a little too much and they didn't want to play ball. And so, yeah, it reeks of flags. How do I say this? Flags, flying, flying the wrong flags. Yeah, that's what it reeks of. I'm trying to play nice because, Facebook or YouTube, Facebook will be next, but YouTube has warned me to be a good boy, and I'm trying. So, at least for, 3 months? I can see I'm boring Tynos to death here. It's got his head buried in the blanket. So what was I saying? The push for, I'm trying to keep this interesting, so I gotta keep whipping myself to keep myself moving, like a old mule or something. Because otherwise I'll just sit here and veg out and stare at the wall like I do when I'm alone. That's what you all don't know about me. When I'm not in front of a camera, I'm just staring at a wall. Blank stare, mindlessly. That's how I tune out of reality these days. No, what was I gonna say? Yeah, this push for collectivism. And we have a hardcore collectivist, creepy, Joe Dark Ages. And man, they just love using groups against each other to forward their own agendas. And that's exactly what they're doing. And, you have the Pope dancing up there. The little man thinks he's really big. I mean, you can't... People that say he's a humble Pope, you can't be humble while at the same time declaring yourself God on earth. I'm sorry, that's just... It doesn't mesh. There's a disconnect there. And they still believe that, only through their church you're saved. If just a little wake-up call for the Christians out there, the other Christians that think we're all friends and brothers and sisters, and that's not really part of their system. I'm not, I don't know what individual Catholics think or believe, and I'm sure that there's a few that are, free thinkers, independent. Those probably, in fact, I think I've met a few libertarian thinking Catholics, which is kind of a oxymoron if you think about it, because the Catholic Church is like the most centralized. Like I read during that last podcast I read, they're the one true monarchy in Europe because, nobody questions the Pope. He reigns supreme in his little tiny country, Vatican City. And if you subscribe to that belief system, he thinks the head, the pontiff, the grand poobah, whatever. It's a highly centralized, top-down system. And they don't believe that average Joe Christian out there can think for themselves, because you need this church hierarchy to think for you, and only through the church and their efforts are you saved. Not anything Jesus did when he was down here on earth. That doesn't make a bit of difference in their minds, and that's why it's not a very Christian organization. Anyway, because you can't be... Anyway, logic I'm trying to use these days, and it's really hard because there's so many layers of stupidity and nonsense to cut through just to try to make the simplest of arguments. But I know my audience. You're with me, right? Right? I'm not alone. I'm not alone in this. You can see this morning I'm a little wing batty. Wing batty, that is a word, by the way. I used that in the previous. And I was like, oh, I meant dingbat. And I actually went and looked it up. It's actually, and it's fitting because it's like a covert way of saying dingbat. You can call somebody a wingbat from now on. Alright, I'm being stupid. I'm trying to keep this like, I don't want to be like that Russell Brand guy. And some stick up his arse intellectual guru. That's just not my style. I'm too real, if I had a little more of a diabolical streak in me, I might try to pose as some religious holy man and gather a harem together or something like that. Is that what you do? Like, if you're enlightened? Pretty sure that's what you do. That's the because you're trying to save as many of those souls, for the next life. So you got to have a harem together, I think. Pretty sure that's how it... And they all got to look, pretty attractive too. But because you're so concerned with their afterlife, or they don't, next life. And I love, I should do some spoofs on some of these New Agers, man. Anyway, collectivism, and that's what, it's a cult dynamic. So that kind of fits into the storyline here. Collectivism is like a cult dynamic, and the Roman Church, for instance, like I've said, no other Christian institution could get away with what the Pope claims to be without being labeled a cult. Because that is, like, you know, one could argue the most collectivist institution, longest lasting institution on earth. And so of course he's going to call out, of course he's going to praise this concept of democracy, because democracy is collectivism, it's mob rule. They never acknowledge America as a representative republic, because that's a lot different. You know, if they start calling it a republic, which I heard actually a couple lawmakers refer to America as a republic during this Capitol Hill assault, and I was like, whoa, that was like, what? Where'd that come from? You know, where'd it go with that one? Because yeah, if you start using that word, people might actually start looking it up and learning what it means to have a representative republic where every individual has the same degree of rights. It doesn't matter if there's a majority, 51%, that vote for this guy or that law, or you know, like the saying goes, democracy is two wolves and a sheep voting for what's for dinner. That's basically it. And what's interesting, if you look in the book of Revelation, I'll get back in the Bible here real shortly. I try to throw in a little teaser, a little breadcrumb now and then, you know, just to, I gotta keep my pastor happy. I'm just joking, I don't think that way. You know, little Mrs. happy, I don't, make sure I'm not going off a deep end. No, it's because, you know, what else do we have to stand for, right? And what we believe. The more and more so, the less we have left in this country. Yeah, in the book of Revelation, when they, it says the people call for the mark. So it's a mobocracy, it's a democracy, it's a democratic movement to persecute the minority, which is God's people, and issue a death decree. Eventually it'll lead to that. Hitler was a master of this. I'm sure pretty much every tyrant used groupthink, collectivism, you know, us versus them, we're being attacked, the Reichstag in Germany, you know, one, I think he was Polish, like mentally retarded guy who supposedly burned down the Reichstag. So they created and it was constant with the Jewish people were these, you know, less than human plague. You know, basically they pictured them as a parasite, literally. Like a big maggot on the earth. That's how they pictured the Jewish people. And so there's always like this groupthink, right? Like you're part of this group. And if we begin in this country, if we go down that road of persecuting groups of people based upon their belief systems, their ideas, you know, over what they actually do, right? Like actually commit a crime. Okay, the Capitol Hill people, yeah, persecute whoever the hell these guys are that ran in there and whatever, thought it was cool to, I mean, they're obviously not the brightest bunch. You run into the Capitol and none of them got masks on. They all, you know, they're all posing there with their smartphones. It's like, you guys are geniuses. You're gonna get away with this, right? I mean, the one time when you could have your COVID on, you know, you might want to put it on when you're raiding the Capitol building, but for some reason all these guys didn't have any masks on. And because that's the new bad guy look. You don't want to, you know, if you stormed the Capitol with like a ski mask on, like you're going to rob a bank, they would have probably paid no attention. They'd just be like, walk on, walk on out of here. That's the new way. Because the purge has begun. So yeah, it's a dangerous road to go down when you start persecuting groups based upon their belief systems, and that's what the Pope recently called for with the these dangerous right-wing terrorists. Regardless of who's part of that group, this group must be stopped. Yeah, because you want everybody to think in groups, because all you gotta do is, like the saying, what's his name? Now I'm gonna forget, but the guy who survived Nazi Germany, death camps and all that. First they came for this group, then they came for that group, then they came for the next group, then they eventually, there were no more little groups of people to stand up for his little group. And that's how they edge away at all of our freedoms. And eventually strip away all of our civil liberties. And, you know, we've gone down this road how many times in human history, and we still just, I guess Americans are, I was thinking of this the other night, like, we're naive, and we have been for a while. You know, you think you can live in a country where you just, you know, you don't have to worry about like other countries, like an all oppressive government. And you can just do whatever you want, right? With your time, you can just choose whatever course you want in life. You know, I want to do this when I grow up, right? I want to be a president when I grow up. That's what they always told you. You know, you could do it, little Tommy, little Cindy. If you want to be president, that's what they used to tell you in school. I remember that. Like, oh wow. That's how free I am in this country. And it's naive as hell, because that's not how it works. I mean, if it were how it works, then it wouldn't be like the same couple families that are occupying the White House every other, you know, election. Yeah, it's a little more controlled than that. In fact, it's a lot more of a monarchy, right of kings type system than it was ever designed to be. So we've fallen quite a ways, but the founding fathers, they weren't naive. They knew. They give us this system. They knew how fragile it was and how hard it would be to keep, and how it would require an educated populace and a moral people to preserve it, you know. And that's, I think, where more than anything we failed as American citizens. And we like to point fingers and say, you know, this guy's corrupt or that guy's corrupt, and drain the swamp. Well, you know what? We got to drain our own, like, swamp in our own brains right now, the swamp in our own minds, because, and look in the mirror. There's a Bible principle, once again back to that book, that we do get the leadership that we deserve. You know, so on some level, we kind of deserve what we get, unfortunately. But if we all can get right with God, I'm going to get my southern preacher man, I guess, voice on here. Wait a sec. Oh, I don't have a hat. Yeah, I'm not going to wear that hat. If we can all just get right with God, I'm not even saying we're going to turn this country around, but, you know, there's a better country, right? America used to be like the land of promise, the promised land, basically, right? As all those immigrants escaped the persecution of Europe, and the woman fled into the wilderness, yet the dragon chased after the woman, and I think we're surrounded by a lot of those enemies of God right now, in offices, nonetheless, not just, yeah, they're actually ruling over us now, because we've been so lackadaisical, you know, asleep, you know, prosperity. It's like the Church of Laodicea. It makes you spiritually asleep. Kind of lulls you, you know, oh man, so comfortable with my fine drinks and looking around for examples of luxury, but I have probably a few. But we've had it so good in this country, and we got lazy, we got sleepy, and that's why we're ruled by tyrants right now, on every level it seems. Everybody wants to be a cute little tyrant, right? Like Governor Polis in this state, all these little governors, they all look to the... I've seen this within even like church structure, back in the day. When we had George W. in power, there'd be people... I swear they monkey see, monkey do thing. Like these little deciders and chiefs that pop up and say, "This is how it's done, folks." Yeah, that's why I don't play church politics. Yeah. Stay true to the course. I guess as time goes on, I'm just getting more preachy. I'm starting to sound more like a preacher because the political solutions right now are looking pretty slim. And eventually I think we're going to get to a point where there are no political solutions to our problems. And then where else do you look but to another promised land, right? Like not an earthly kingdom, but a heavenly. And that's what we have as Christians. That's the hope that we have that separates us from the rest of the world. So keep the faith, everybody. Thanks for joining me this morning. I know it's been too long already, so I'm going to chop it off right now. But cheers. Thanks for watching. God bless. See ya.